Welcome to the Bradlink Podcast, your home for expert wedding planning advice. Today we're talking all about what you should rent versus what you should buy when you're planning your wedding. So, first, let's start in the category of what you should rent. Let's start first with tables and chairs. If it's not part of what comes with your wedding venue package already, you're going to have to look into renting tables and chairs for your guests to sit at during your reception and your ceremony. Buying these are a bad idea because a chair that costs $25 or $30 might rent for $2. It's a lot more cost effective just to rent them. And then also you could add on setup as well. So you're not worried about setting up major furniture on your wedding day. The next item you should think about renting rather than buying is linens. Oh my goodness, it is such a pain in the butt to get the wrinkles and the seams out of linens. If you are able to rent them, they're more likely to be professionally steamed and delivered to you in a way that they could just be placed on the tables. If you decide to buy them, yeah, you will save a little bit of money, but be prepared for multiple laundry trips so you can wash them beforehand to try to get some of the folding seams out just from where it was mailed to you. And then you're probably still going to have to steam them when you get on site because the way that they're folded and delivered, it just makes wrinkles and seams be more apparent when they're placed on the tables. So definitely if you can afford to rent linens instead of purchasing, we would say to rent them. The other bonus is you actually get to see it in person instead of ordering online and it coming in and it's the wrong color. So renting them gives you a little bit of insight on what exactly it's going to look like. So if that's really important to you and your color scheme is really important, rent your linen so you can see them in person before you actually put any money down. So that's definitely one of the main things that we think that you should rent instead of purchase is linen. The next item we say you rent is furniture. If you're going to do like a vintage theme lounge or any other type of area in your wedding where you're going to be using different pieces of furniture, we recommend that you rent these. Often you can find prop style wedding boutique businesses that have a large assortment of different items that you can rent. They will deliver them, and it's going to be a lot more cost effective than trying to find vintage furniture on Craigslist and wasting your time if it's not worth the trip to go look at it. We recommend renting furniture for another reason because sometimes it can get damaged. So, really, if you're buying it, it might be just a one time use thing because it's not able to be used again. This is something these boutique prop shops plan for, and they usually have extra in their inventory. And I hate to say that people damage your things, but they most definitely do, especially at weddings and especially if there's alcohol involved. So we really recommend that you're going to want to rent your furniture and set up delivery with their team so you don't have to worry about lugging heavy stuff the day of your wedding. Next is tuxedos. Unless your fiance is an Agent 007, they might not really have a whole lot of use for a tuxedo past your wedding day. You can look into the number of formal events that you do every year, but if it's not a lot, you're going to be better off renting than buying. A lot of tuxedo companies also have different specials where if you rent a certain number of suits or tuxedos, the groom's actually going to get his for free. And so there's no better reason to rent than it might actually be free versus buying. Next item would be vases or centerpieces or really any decor that goes on your tabletop. This is something that you could look at through one of those boutique prop shops, or more than likely, your florist is going to have everything that you need. The reason that it's better to rent these is because you can get a lot more high end pieces for a lot better price if you go through somebody as a rental. Also, a lot of these are really breakable, and the florist is going to know how to package them appropriately so they make it to your wedding tabletop without being broken in transit. They're also going to be able to pick everything up at the end of the night, so you don't have to worry about what you're going to do with 15 centerpieces at midnight when your wedding just ended. Next is candles. The same reason that you want to rent the vases and centerpieces is candles often have to be housed in glass, and so it's going to be better if you rent a bunch of votive candles added onto your floral bill instead of having to purchase some. It's just one more thing you're going to have to lug to the wedding the day of. And if you're not going to have a use for, let's say, 60 votive candles in the future, why would you want to have them laying around your house? Of course, if you purchase them, you can always try to resell them, but For the amount of money that you're going to get, that might just be a pain. So that's why we say go ahead and rent candles from a florist. They're going to make sure that they have more than enough. They're going to be high quality, and it's definitely going to match the decor that you already get through them. Next item is real plates, silverware, and glasses. There is no need to buy 100 real plates or 100 forks or 100 knives or 100 spoons. First of all, it's going to be way too cost prohibitive. Second, you're probably not going to buy enough. Every time I see people try to buy their own silverware for an event, they never rent enough forks. They never get enough forks. And so we say that you should rent it. Another reason is when you actually price some of the fancier plastic china, the kind that looks like it's plastic, but it looks like it's real plates. When you price that, it's actually about the same cost just to rent a real plate. You're looking at cents per every plate, fork, knife, and glass. So we recommend looking into renting them. It's a little bit more high end. You know that the food won't break the plate. I've seen that happen with paper plates before. And if you go through a rental company, they're going to be able to advise you on exactly how many you need, because just because you have 150 people coming to your wedding, you're definitely going to need more than 150 plates and more than 150 forks, and they can give you the correct total. And so definitely look into renting that before you buy anything, because it might be just as much to do either or, but it's a lot less hassle to rent. Next item is any lighting. I can tell you first and foremost, I hate putting up lighting on a wedding day. It's actually in our contract as a wedding planner that we won't do it because everybody thinks that it's going to take 30 minutes to an hour just to throw some Christmas lights up in the ceiling, no big deal, or maybe even just wrap them around a pole. Simple, right? In actuality, when we used to do it, it would take our staff, at least two people, several hours to get the lighting perfect and to get it to hang so it swoops correctly and that we get to the right outlet and everything lights up. And so it's definitely not a 1 hour project. In addition to that, when you rent lighting, you're going to get the big, fancy commercial bulbs that glow brighter than your cheap little Christmas lights. And you can definitely tell that in pictures. You can see the big bulbs better. Also, when you rent lighting, it's probably going to come with some like pipe and drape poles, which will hold the lighting if you need it to, if there's no walls or ceiling that you're connecting the lighting to. That might not make sense to you, but when you talk to a rental company, it definitely will. So, whatever you have envisioned for your lighting, a rental company is going to be more likely to pull it off, and they're going to be able to do a better job at it because they're professionals. Lighting can be tricky just because different venues have different rules about it, and what you envision of lighting draping your ceiling might not work out if the venue doesn't let you attach anything to the walls. When you work with a professional rental company, they're going to go through all of the bells and whistles to make sure everything that you're going to be envisioning is actually going to be logistically possible the day of the wedding. And when I've seen people try to get that commercial light bulb and just buy it themselves and set it up, they end up spending more money than they would have renting it in the first place. And renting it is such less hassle the day of. So always rent lighting. Next is tents. We had somebody try to buy a tent once after they found out that they can be hundreds to even thousands of dollars to rent, and they thought they were getting a good deal online, right? Well, the tent came in and it was made with cheap plastic PVC pipe, super cheap tarp like material that wouldn't even stop a breeze from coming in. And it just really felt like it was going to collapse at any moment. So, whatever money they thought they were saving on their tent was actually because they were getting a much cheaper, less sturdy version than what they could have rented. And it was a big hassle putting it up as well. So, you definitely want to rent a tent. This is going to house your guests during your reception. It's going to be above their heads. It's pretty heavy duty. And if you're going to do things like hang lighting inside, hang chandeliers inside, put a dance floor down, you want to make sure this is all done professionally. This is no feat to send out your groomsmen the day before the wedding and try to have them build a tent that can hold 100 people. You most 100% definitely need to rent a tent from a professional company. Now let's talk about the stuff that you get to buy for your wedding. First and foremost, we say you should buy your wedding dress. I know they might be expensive, but you don't want to rent it and then have to give it back. You'd prefer to want to keep it, even though I do know some people sell it. Some people preserve it and save it, but we do recommend that you're going to want to buy it. If you didn't know, a average wedding dress is going to definitely need alterations. There's very few percentage of people that actually put on a formal dress and it perfectly fits. They're just not made that way because they have to be made in a way that they can be altered in several different ways and still fit several different body types. So, unless you have the perfect ideal body type and you magically fit into a wedding dress, I doubt you will, you're going to need to get it altered so that way it fits correctly. And if you get it altered, you need to buy it, not rent it. Same for wedding party attire. We're talking bridesmaids dresses here. We highly, highly suggest that you buy those. You can do things like rent the runway, but if we want to do that, we would say that at least do a test run. You don't want to have a dress shipped to you 2 days before the wedding and it's the wrong color, wrong size, wrong whatever, and it doesn't work. So that's why we say that buying your wedding party attire, as far as flower girl outfits, and bridal party, specifically bridesmaids dresses, is a better idea. And also, when you're looking into teeny tiny tuxedos and suits, it might be something that you want to look into buying as well, just if you need to. Some tuxedo companies won't sell them that teeny tiny for itty bitty ring bearers that might be below the age of 1. So check with the rental company first, but if they don't have teeny tiny suits, you're going to have to buy those for babies. Next, jewelry, wedding shoes, wedding purse, and all of that stuff. Nobody wants to wear used shoes on a wedding day, so I would go ahead and buy your wedding shoes if you're a female. If you are a male, more than likely you can rent some that's going to come with your tuxedo or your suit. Jewelry is a big thing because you're probably going to want to keep that as a memento, so make sure that you buy it so you can keep it and love it forever. Next to buy would be plastic cutlery or plates. So if you decide that you have to use plastic and you don't want to use real plates, of course it's better off to buy plastic cutlery than it is to rent it. But like I said before, price the real stuff. You would be surprised at how affordable it is, and it's going to be a much more high-end effect if you have real plates, silverware, and glasses at your event. Something I will say that nobody notices if you're trying to save a little bit of money is if you switch to plastic cups at the bar late night and start putting wine and mixed drinks into plastic cups instead of glassware, nobody notices that. But you can keep it formal and keep your glassware on the table during your reception, and that will help with your budget and also with a high-end feel. Next, anything that you can use afterwards, you should buy. So when you're thinking about things around your house, like little signage and things like that, if it's something that you think you can use afterwards, then go ahead and buy it. Do not fill your house full of Hobby Lobby signs that talk about love and marriage just because you want them at your wedding. In all honesty, I see a lot of stuff like that over and over and over again, and it makes weddings look similar. And are you really going to want to decorate your house with your wedding decor 10 years down the road? So don't overdo it with signage. Get stuff that you can truly use afterwards because you think you're going to love it forever. And speaking about loving it forever, anything that you want to keep as a memento, you should definitely purchase. So if there's anything that you think is adorable, like a ring box that you know that you can store your wedding jewelry in or your wedding ring in forever, you're going to want to purchase that instead of rent it, because if you rent it, of course, you have to give it back. The next thing that you're going to want to buy. If you're doing DIY projects, there's going to be different types of decor that you're going to have to purchase. For example, let's say you're going to attach silk flowers to lanterns or something like that. You're really not going to be able to rent the lanterns in time from the florist to attach stuff to it. So I'd recommend that you go ahead and buy those items instead, because we always say if you're going to do a DIY project, get it done 1 to 2 weeks minimum before your wedding day. There's just a lot that happens in the last couple of weeks, and we don't want you to be running around like a crazy person or really stressed. And so getting your DIY projects done a couple weeks in advance will really help you feel better the day of the wedding. But to do that, if you have any decor that you need, you can't rent it, you have to buy it because you're going to need it on hand for so long. So, we hope that we were able to give you a little bit of insight on what you should rent and what you should buy. If you have any questions, we would love to give you more expert wedding planning advice. Just follow us at thebroadlink.com.